During the 16 Days of Action 2022 campaign,
Gosa Girls on Fire and Tech Shack Tactical TV interview ordinary but outstanding women.
Hashtag I am every woman.
In our interviews, we honor outstanding businesswomen who have made a difference in their specific sphere of society to ladies who have overcome horrific gender-based violence incidences.
We believe in action, not activism.
Why are women continually cast as helpless victims?
Bystanders to their own fate, presuming that victimhood is a fait accompli. We are not simply deer in the headlights of gender-based violence.
We can and will stand up for ourselves.
We are not second-class citizens who need special days and men standing up for us.
We say no more.
Activism does not change the minds of predators.
Predators will always be predators, waiting in the dark to claim their victims. Standing on street corners with placards saying that we are against gender-based violence has and never alone make a difference. Take action now, not to be a victim, and be a strong woman. Do not put your trust in anybody else except yourself. Take the example from the strong women in these interviews and be a warrior. Hashtag victim no longer.
Okay, I think it is now working. Everything is a bit slow. Okay. Lynette Oxley here for Tech Shack Tactical TV and Gosa Girls on Fire for the 16 Days of Action for No Violence Against Women and Children. I'm speaking to Nobe Molete. Welcome, Nobe.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us, who is Nobesuthu Molete?
Nobesuthu Molete is a 35-year-old mother of one daughter. I am a practicing attorney, but I'm also acting as a real estate agent. I am a lover of discovery. I love learning. I love discovering new things. I love finding out information. So yes, I'm a lover of learning. And that's basically me in a nutshell.
Great, thanks very much. Your experience of abuse of GBV is twofold. Can you tell us your story, please?
Okay, it's twofold in the sense that I experienced gender-based violence in the sense of physical violence and in the sense of emotional violence. When I was 19, sadly enough, this was my first boyfriend, which makes it then my first experience of relationship. I was firstly raped by my boyfriend. And the sad thing about that story is that when I told and spoke about it, I was told that boyfriends can't rape you. And so then it became silent. And he then also proceeded to beat me. This was on the day that we broke up. He pinned me on his bed. And in my mind, I thought this is not going to happen again because the first time, obviously, he had raped me. And in my mind, I thought he's going to do it again. And I remember just switching off and I bit him on the lip. And then he got up and then just repeatedly started beating at me. And then he got off to go and check his lip. At that moment, I remember getting up and the only thing that I saw on the floor was a bottle. And I thought to myself, I am not leaving here. I'm already a victim by the fact that he just beat me up, but I'm not going to be a greater victim of gender-based violence, the fact that I would then be killed by my boyfriend. And I threw him with a bottle on the head. And then from there on, everything was just me running, being bashed on the wall, trying to fight my way out of the door. At some point, he was at the top floor of the flat. And at some point, I thought to myself, I need to find a way out. And I remember looking down at the ground, which was very, very low. And I thought to myself, there's no way that I'm going to die with the hands of who is supposedly supposed to be the guy that teaches me love. And yes, so the whole experience there for a long time, it was just me running around, me being bashed on the wall, us fighting, me being beaten up. And I remember eventually running out. And the first two people that I came across were security guards. And the one guy just said to me, you've got blood on your shirt. And I looked at it. And then as I was about to ask him for help, the one said to the other, no, let's not enter issues between couples. And I was stunned because he saw that I was bleeding. I was swollen. I was blue. I had blood everywhere. And the only thing this guy could say was, let's not enter or disturb issues that happen between couples. And then I called his mom because I was like, Mama, we used to communicate with his mom, and I was like, Mama, Miro just beat me, and she said, oh no, I'm so sorry, I hope you guys work it out. So at that point, I've just had two people not help me, and two people not care, and two people not show any emotion to the fact that I'm blue, I'm bleeding, you know. And I remember running from his flat to the police station and passing people, and everybody just went, yo. And the funny thing about it is that the way that people reacted, it seemed normal. No one was shocked that there's a girl running around bleeding who's blue with her white t-shirt all bloody, and you can see that she's bruised. There was no one who stopped to find out if I was okay. Everybody just proceeded like it's just another one of those things. Yes, it's just another, oh no, here's another one. That crushed me. I think the reaction of everybody else above the actual beating was, for me, the worst part.
That's what I wanted to say to you.
And when I got to the police station, they let me in, and this gentleman said to me, yo, sissy, I'm so sorry about your experience, but there's nothing we can do to help you. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, a lot of times women come and they make false allegations, so we can't help you. I'm like, but I'm blue. There's no way that anything here is a false accusation. There's no way. You understand? I am bleeding. I'm swollen. I am blue. My eyes are popped out. How is this a false report? And he said to me, the best thing you can do is call your brothers to come beat him up. And that shattered me completely. And another thing for me, which crushed me completely, is that my dad was abusive when I was growing up. He found his change, but as when we were young, he was abusive. And he said to me, why didn't you just tell me about this? And in my mind, I thought, what were you going to do about it? Because you were the same guy. I was just in the same situation with another you. You did this to mom. What were you going to do about it? But there was literally no help. There's no help for women who are physically abused. There's no way for us to turn when we come out of that situation. It's not there. And that is, pardon?
Society and family basically was not there to help you.
No, not at all. And yes, there are very many campaigns about gender-based violence and how we need to stop gender, but the fact is, there's nothing being done.
There's no action.
People are being arrested. Yes, there is no action. Yes, people are being arrested. Yes, people are going to jail. But then, what happens after? It wouldn't. If there was actual action, it wouldn't be a repeated story. Which for me, because now then, that was 26 years ago. I carry the trauma with me 26 years later, and I carry it mostly because nothing happened. There was no justice served. This guy proceeded to, he lives his life, you know, and there is no justice, which is a terribly sad reality, and
Absolutely.
Yes, it's terrible. Yeah, and that was my experience of it. And the funny thing is, he raped me, and prior to that, he had slapped me. And because you talk to your friends, and when I talk to my friends, like, no, what did you do? So then it always comes back to the victim. You did something that warranted him to have slapped you.
Yeah.
And then in my mind, I found ways to justify why he slapped me. So at the first time he slapped me, I should have left, but then because of the reports that I was getting back when I told the story, it was like, oh, okay, well, maybe he wasn't wrong, you know, until it got to the point where he actually did beat me up. And yeah, so there has been no justice. There have been no repercussions. There's nothing happened, and society takes it as though it's normal. Yes, it's very normal, which is terrible.
You will probably have ended up dead if you stayed in that relationship. You also think so? It sounds like that to me.
Yes, I think so. I think if I had stayed, because I think this is thinking back. I think what happens in the minds of the perpetrators is that if they can do it once and nothing happens, then to them it also becomes normal. Then he can do it again, you know. So yeah, I think if I had stayed, it would have been a repeat action. I don't think it was going to have ever stopped.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Your second story, please. In
My second
2019,
story,
yeah.
yes, my second story is not as gruesome as physical abuse, but the thing is,
Just
it
as
is
bad.
just as bad. Yes. I was dating. I met this gentleman on off of an online dating site. He was
Yeah.
great, but I remember every time something would go wrong, it would be my fault. Every time he had an issue, it would be my fault. So throughout, we dated for a year and 7 months. So throughout that year and 7 months, there was constant how I am unworthy, how I cannot do things, how I am not meeting needs, how I'm not a great person, how yeah, you're good, but and the thing about it is that every time someone does it to you, it picks at you
More
internally. It
little, yeah,
picks at you.
exactly.
Yes, it picks at your self-esteem. It picks at your self-worth. I remember because I eventually checked myself into Vista because I had extreme panic attacks. I had extreme anxiety attacks. At some point, I was diagnosed with depression. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I must think very little of myself for me to have allowed this to happen. Because everything, if he bought me something and I didn't quite like it, then it would be how I'm unappreciative and I'm a bad person and then I couldn't have opinions. And so it was constant breaking at who I am, which is literally emotional abuse. And in as much
Absolutely.
as we might overlook these things, like, no, he just said that you weren't pretty. Why is someone attacking who you are? Why are you being attacked for who you are? Why are you being attacked for your opinions? Why are you being attacked for the things that you do? And the thing about that is that that form of abuse is very, very much overlooked, but it is abuse and it does break you. And the amount of times that I think about me sitting there thinking, maybe I don't deserve to be alive because I'm not such a great person, were a lot, which for me then makes sense as to why so many women attempt to commit suicide, because we are constantly being beaten. Even if it's not physically beaten, we are constantly being abused emotionally, which in as much as it's not as visible as physical abuse,
It's
it
just
still
as
is
bad.
abuse.
And it's just as bad as
It's
the
what it
other
is.
one.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it
Yes, it
makes
is.
you feel like you're not worth anything, and it's
Yes.
difficult. And
Yes.
that's planned from the abuser side.
Yes. Yes.
You also
And
mean,
people will say, you should just be stronger.
yeah, and
And it's like, but
they're not in your situation. You can't. You can
yes,
only walk in your own shoes.
yes,
Tell me a
yes.
little bit.
And it's very sad how, yes.
No, go for it. Please finish.
No, I was saying it's very sad how much women don't talk about that form of abuse. And as real as it is, it's real.
It's absolutely real.
If you are being belittled, you're being abused. You know what I mean? If you're being told that you're worthless, that's abusive. That's abusive
Absolutely.
behavior. And you can't just label it as it's toxic. No, it's abusive. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Both forms of abuse is as bad as each other, I do
Yes.
believe.
Yes.
You
Yes.
say sometimes when you went to the police station, they say to you, sometimes victims falsely accuse someone. You wanted to mention, and that can you expand on that?
Yes. So when I went to report at the police station, they said to me, no, they can't help me because a lot of times women come and they falsely abuse people. And to me, even now, that still stands, is how we cannot deny that, yes, women a lot of the times are victims, right? But then sometimes as well, women do get to a point where they just make up stories, because otherwise the police would not have said that. Because then if they said that just to push me away, then our system is very, very, very broken. But my thought with that is that every time someone tells a false story, every time someone accuses someone of something that they didn't do, that puts a bad light on actual victims, on people who actually go through gender-based violence. I remember there was recently a post about a little boy who committed suicide because a girl said that he raped her. And then once he had hung himself, she comes back and says she was just joking. That's someone's life. But yes, it's not a joke. You can't lie like that. Do you understand? And my thing is, those little lies make actual victims, the pain that they go through and the actual experience of being abused, it makes it. Yes. reporting false cases of gender-based violence makes it difficult because by the time a actual victim comes in, people have heard it so much that it becomes an story. And the thing is, gender-based violence is not an story. It's just another one. It's an actual real thing, and it's an actual real injustice. So false accusations and false reportings actually adds to the injustice. So it makes us who actually went through the experience, it makes our experience seem so much smaller, which it isn't. So false reports need to be stopped. We need to start educating people to stop telling lies when it comes to gender-based violence. It is a real issue, and we need to treat it as there's a wolf. We cannot. So false reporting needs to be. We need to start educating people to stop at it. So that's how I feel about it.
Great, thank you very much. Tell me, you say GBV, there's a lack of unity. What do you mean by that?
Every time there's a report, it's just another story. We hear it on the news. Okay, as I was saying, the lady that was raped at the post office, right? What I wondered was, when this gentleman took her, where was everybody else? There's no way that there was no one in the post office at that point in time. Where was everybody else?
It was
why did no one?
It was actually off. It was actually after hours. He actually said to her, I remember this is Stellenbosch incident. Am I correct?
Yeah.
He actually said to her that he will phone her. He took a telephone number. He will phone her after when the package arrived. He phoned her after hours, and she actually went after hours, and there was nobody there. He opened the door for her. She went to the back, and that's when it happened. So there was nobody else at the post office.
Okay, all right. I'll give an example. I was once upon a time, well, not once upon a time. I was once in a taxi, and I went into the back seat. In the front seat was a lady and her mom. Outside was a gentleman who was cursing out, like, get out of the car, get out of the car. But he was in Vernac, so it was very vulgar. And I said to the other ladies in the taxi, guys, what is happening? And this girl was, she was falling out crying. And the mom kept saying, okay, get out, get out. And this guy kept saying, it's fine, you can report me against the police station, but get out now. I want you now. We are people in the taxi, you know? There are people outside the taxi. Everybody's watching this boy, threatening this girl. At some point, I remember he pulled the mom out. Then he grabbed this girl by her hair and threw her out of the car. We are all there. Why is no one saying anything? Why did no? And at some point, I wanted to talk, and this woman pinched me, and she said, don't say anything. And my mother was like, how are we not saying anything? We are all watching this in town, in Pretoria CBD. We are all watching this. No. Is it better now?
It is better, much better. Okay, so yeah, why is nobody doing anything?
Why is no one doing anything? And I other than having to Google it, how many support groups are there for victims of gender-based violence? How many? If you don't Google or to look for it, why isn't why isn't it marketed and thrown out there everywhere for victims to know that there's a support group? Why are we not? You know how everything on TikTok goes viral. If there's a new dance, everybody knows about it. Why are we not doing the same action with educating about gender-based violence, educating about what to do and where to go? And because gender-based violence it's not something that just happens on one day. Yes, it does happen, but then it comes from a chain of a girl, the boyfriend pushes her one time, then tomorrow he hits her, then tomorrow he's beating her up, then she's dead the next day. You understand? Why aren't, as much as we publish all these dance moves on TikTok, why are we not doing the same thing? And that's what I mean by this lack of unity and community with it. Because victims of gender-based violence are in themselves a community. We are a community of people who have experienced it. Why is there nowhere? There should be, I think, there should be, and ones that we know about. There should be places in every town where victims can go to. I know about a place, but I've heard of in Pretoria, but it's one of those, I've heard about it type of things. You understand? Why is it not marketed? Why is it not spoken about so that it's something that we know? You know, yesterday, funny enough, I'm an attorney. Yesterday, I only found out yesterday that there's actually a separate court for abuse, for domestic abuse. If I hadn't dealt with the case as such, I wouldn't have known. Why is information like that not given? You know, and not, and I'm not saying not given in the sense, yes, they have contact numbers, but it must be everywhere. This thing is not small. It's something that happens every day. Right now, there's a girl who's being abused. Right now, there's a girl who's probably being killed by her boyfriend. Right now, there's a child who's probably been kidnapped. It's so big that knowledge about it should be shared everywhere. It should be on billboards. It should be on radio stations. It should just pop up every time you pass. And I think that's another thing about it, is that we hear about the stories when they happen. You know, the lady who was pregnant, whose husband ordered someone to kill her. After that incident, then it's quiet. You know, these things happen all the time. Absolutely. Right now they're happening. Absolutely. But why do we only act when it's a story? Do you understand? Well, yeah. It lacks community, it lacks unity in that sense, and it makes the fight against it also very weak, because, well, what are we actually doing about it? You know?
Have you started anything for abused women?
Well, we have what we call the You Perspective, which we host talks, but our main focus is on the mental side of it, like the emotional abuse, and talking about it from that perspective. So we do that. We have talks that we host when we do, called the You Perspective. We're gonna have our next one next year, but that's how we're doing it. Excuse me. I used to also work with the lady Sister Preeti, who does a lot of education for young girls, but her main focus is girls who've lost mothers, because there's no one talking to them. So then I also do that. Yes. So that's, but I also feel like, especially because I have a daughter, I feel like even myself, I should be doing more. I've got a daughter, you know, there's a 50% chance that she might be a victim to some guy who does, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So even for myself, I feel like I should be doing more. But the thing is, because it's spoken about so, and I'm not using it as an excuse, because there's so little about you actually end up feeling like, well, what can I do?
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
So if you've got a message out there for the ladies during the 16 days of action, what would it be?
First thing, talk from the moment, if someone comes, if your partner, or like my title says, it's not a stranger. If your partner pushes you, or if he talk and talk loudly. You know, I wanted to start this thing when I was 19 called Name the Shame the Name, Name the Shame, right? Where we actually name these people. You know, because just because he broke up with me doesn't mean that he's not going to do to the next person. But I was told, no, you can't go and ruin other people's lives. That was what I was told.
But he's ruined your life.
Ruining some. Yes, you know. Name the shame. And name it. Talk about it. Tell everybody. Talk about it. Find a community of people on Facebook. If you Google abuse, yes, they'll have some crooked sites. Talk about it. And it's not your fault. There's a lot of times people will just fight, no, but then you shouldn't have said this to him. No. Nothing warrants you being beaten. Nothing warrants you being abused. Nothing warrants you being killed for anything. Talk about it. That's the primary message that I have for women. Secondly, don't blame yourself. Because the moment we start blaming ourselves, then we sit down and it's like, then we keep quiet. You know, because it's my fault. I can't ruin him. I can't. No. Don't do that. It's not your fault. Nothing warrants you being abused. Talk about it. And don't be afraid to, like I say, name them. Because the moment we start, people know that this is the person that does it, and we start bringing them out. I believe that's the moment that change would actually start happening, because we can put up boards, we can march, we can, you understand? But until action is done, nothing's going to change.
That's why I've changed 16 days of activism to 16 days of action. Until you don't stand in the sidelines and say nothing, until you decide to say something and speak up, nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Nobi, and have a fantastic day. We had
Thank
a
you
lot
so
of
much for the
communication problems. Hopefully, we can sort it out from the editing side. But thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you so much for the time. Thank you for
Cheers
having me.
then. Bye-bye.
I'm a girl on fire. I'm not a victim. A girl on fire. I'll stand my ground. Girl on fire. I've made a choice. I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. I'm every woman. I have taken up arms and I choose to defend all that I hold dear. Independent and strong, you will not keep me down. You can't break me. I'm a girl on fire. I'm not a victim. A girl on fire. I'll stand my ground. Girl on fire. I've made a choice. I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. Countless hours on the range, I am responsibly armed. I am your equal. I've empowered myself. I have practiced and trained. Fear won't control me. With my sisters in arms, we will make ourselves heard. We'll stand together. I'm a girl